sprlivefm.com app from either the Google Play Store or Apple App Store. You will not only experience our radio, but SPR, TV, and live chat.
Sonia White Croasdaile is quite literally 1 in a million, but you would not want to be that special. Avery Haynes now with Sonia's rare medical odyssey. A warning, though, the pictures in this story might literally make you queasy. Avery?
Well, that's right, Roger. Queasy, because what you're about to see is Sonia's body ravaged by burns, and here's how fast it happened. On a Friday, Sonia went to a walk-in clinic with what she thought was the flu. By Monday, she was charred beyond recognition. This is the inside story of a woman who burned from the inside out.
I was looking like I was dipped in a pot of hot oil. Blisters all over. My throat, my eyes, my palms, my fingernails were falling out. The only place that was not covered in burn was from my knee to my ankle.
Sonia White Croasdaile always thought of herself as a glamour girl, a one-time Miss Black Canada contestant who 2 years ago was devastated by a medical nightmare. 90% of your body was covered in burns.
Was covered in burns. I wouldn't look in the mirror for the longest while, because the person looking back at me was not me.
When she was in the hospital, her face was like unrecognizable. So I took this picture.
And you just wanted them to know that this is my wife.
Yes.
And here is what is most shocking about these burns that charred Sonia's body. They weren't caused by fire, chemicals, or electricity. Most doctors have never seen this.
No.
It's called Stevens-Johnson syndrome, a deadly, mysterious, and rare condition that starts with a fever and flu and then rapidly spirals into a terrifying illness.
My body is burning itself from the inside out. The same thing was going on internally. I was getting sores inside my body. If there's a word beyond excruciating, that's what I was feeling.
When you were in the hospital for those 6 weeks, you could have died.
They thought I died 1,000,000 times over.
For 6 long weeks, doctors cared for Sonia in the ICU and the burn ward. That was 2 years ago. The one saving grace is that her blistered skin has healed without a scar. Sonia appears perfectly healthy now. She's not.
When I walk, the slightest thing on the floor or even on the road, any pebble or anything, I feel that anywhere that someone holds me, it's like a fire is lit underneath. So it becomes very hot where one touches.
The odds of getting Stevens-Johnson syndrome is 1 in 1 million, and it's usually caused by a reaction to a pharmaceutical drug or a virus.
So many people have died because of Stevens-Johnson, and one of the main reasons is lack of diagnosis.
They essentially burn to death.
They essentially burn to death.
In Sonia's case, they simply don't know what brought it on.
That is the scary part, because there is a chance of reoccurrence. And of course, because we don't know the cause, then I don't know for sure what to stay away from.
And while her body slowly heals, Sonia's reaching out to others who have suffered from Stevens-Johnson syndrome by creating this website.
The next person who is diagnosed with this life-threatening, devastating illness should not have to go this journey alone.
Sonia White Croasdaile is.
That's
Wow.
Sonia. Oh my gosh. I think it was back in February. I was at a Black History function in Tilsonburg. First time I've ever been there. Cute little town. And I met this young lady there, and she was introduced to me. Somebody said, "You got to talk to her." And I started talking to her, and she started telling me about her story. I'm like, we need to get you on an interview in our radio station. People need to hear about this, because at that point in time, I have never heard anything about this. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome to our program Sonia, how do you call it? Croasdaile? 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 Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Sonia, good morning, Sonia. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Hi,
Good
Sonia.
morning.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And I know Faiti got a
Welcome,
bunch of
welcome.
questions. Go ahead, Faiti.
A bunch of questions. He's setting me up again. You notice that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I when I saw what was sent to us regarding your experience, I'm gonna call it, I was just flabbergasted, because like Claremont, I had never really heard of that um diagnosis before. And so I try to look on the US side of things to see if,
Mhm.
what they had to say, and yeah, they said it's 1 to 2 per million person that gets this diagnosis. However, looking at you, obviously we cannot even tell that you experienced some of the things, because I saw in my looking at the diagnosis how dramatic it could be on the outside.
Mhm.
So I cannot even remotely imagine how it was on the inside. And they also spoke about the survival rate,
Mhm.
and here you are,
Yeah.
literally a living testimony, because they said um 2 to 6 per million people do not survive it, and that's a high ratio. So this morning, tell us, how did you get to this place of looking so beautiful, like nothing ever happened to you?
You start from backwards
If I
coming in.
just,
I like that.
yeah, because let me tell you, you guys can see her. You can see her. We're on our YouTube channel, and we're on Facebook, so you guys can see what she looks like.
Mhm.
We have had the privilege of seeing some of her photos during, and it looks nothing like what she looks like now.
Yeah.
So just tell us.
First of all, let me say this. I am blessed and highly favored,
Amen.
hands down,
Yeah.
because not many survivors have their skin come back the way mine comes back to this almost normal
Right.
looking texture. So that when you look at me, a lot of times my husband, who is my rock, he's always with me. He always have to be my policeman, informing people that even though she may look like she's okay and she may look on the outside like everything is fine, there's a whole different story going on the inside that you cannot see, that is hidden behind this replenishedly burnt skin. So,
Wow.
Absolutely.
I know in the interview that you did in 2013 with CDTV,
mhm.
they said no one knows the cause of it. Do you have any idea how this started with you?
To this day, I have not been able to find the cause. I have done all the testing that there is. Genetic testing is one of the main tests that they do. They also do allergy testing, skin patch testing for trying to rule out the possible medications that would have caused it.
Right, right.
Nothing to this day they can pinpoint that caused it. And that is very
Wow.
scary because when you don't
Yeah,
know what caused something, the
Mm-hmm.
possibility of it reoccurring
Mm-hmm.
right,
is very
right.
much likely.
Because you don't know what to stay away from. Because it meant I saw that it mentioned when I was doing some of the research on it that they said it's usually pharmaceutical usage for different other situations that could initiate that. But
Yeah,
there was nothing in your case.
nothing in my case. I was healthy, living my best life.
Wow.
You're now
Yeah,
living your best
Wow.
life.
I
you're now
am.
you're now living your best life. Now this Stephen Johnson syndrome, Canada. Who is Stephen Johnson? Because I know they name these things after different people. Tell us a little bit about what is the Stephen Johnson syndrome. I know you explained to me there's two different parts of this. So give us a bit. What is Stephen Johnson syndrome?
Okay, let me tell you first how it got its name. There were two pediatricians back in the early years who discovered a young child with this illness. One of the pediatrician was Johnson and the other was Stephen. So they
Wow.
combined the name together, and so it's two last names, Stevens Johnson syndrome.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's how that name comes about. In terms of the illness itself, this illness that burns the body from the inside out, when less than 10% of the body is burnt, it is referred to as Stevens-Johnson syndrome. When it's more than 30% of the body that is covered in burn, it is referred to as toxic epidermal necrolysis, and that's a short form 10, TEN. And so TEN is the extreme case of Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And for me, I went from Stevens-Johnson syndrome to TEN in a matter of days because my whole
Wow.
body was literally covered with burnt blisters.
So this happened within one day.
No, it happens over a course of time. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Claremont, because this time, as we speak, today is what, March 22nd?
March
Mm-hmm.
2nd.
This time, 13 years ago, I was in hospital battling for my life. It
Wow.
started the weekend of March 19th, 2011. I went to the Emerge by the 21st, and by the 22nd, my body was just charred, like it was just covered in burn blisters. So this is like every time this comes around each year, this
Mm,
week, it
yeah.
brings back so much bad memories, but I can't help but thank God and just be grateful for what I am looking like today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was about 10 years, 11 years old when I had both of my legs burnt. And I
Oh,
imagined the pain that you had to be going through. On a
mhm.
scale of 1 to 10, can you tell me what that was like?
Excruciating.
You're saying that in my mind, I'm thinking if this is on her body, that means it's on her back
Oh,
and the
yeah.
back of her legs. And in my head, I mean, I sleep on my side and my stomach, and all I can think about is how did she even rest? Because if this thing is and covered her entire body, how did she rest? You must have to have some kind of sleep aid, I'm gonna call it.
It wasn't easy. My family was always with me in the hospital. They had to be constantly turning me because, as you know, every side you lie on, it is painful. But I am so grateful. And the funny thing is, the same way my body was burning, like being charred on the outside, similar burning was taking place on the inside because it literally burns the body from the inside out. So that was beyond, like, they had me on all these pain medications. So yeah.
They would have had to. They would have had to.
Mm-hmm.
Simple thing. What was your eating like?
Eating, listen, for the first five, no, not five, that's overdoing it. About for the first 2 to 3 days in hospital, I could not eat because they were trying to figure out what was
What
going
was
on.
going on?
I was passing up like bloody mucus, like a ton of it. And they had to eventually put suction to suction this bloody mucus out. But I could not eat. And so I lay on that hospital bed, and I think it was about day 3 that the doctors decide to put in a nasogastric tube. So that's to feed me through the nose.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Faye, my stomach was so empty. For the first time in my life, I experienced what an empty stomach felt like, because the first drop from my nose that went into my stomach, I felt that drop. And I lied there and I started counting and watching the pump. And I said, okay, anytime now, there should be enough. Yes.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. I am not. That is
Oh my
hungry
goodness.
and empty my stomach was.
Right.
My mouth was full of sores. So there
You
was,
couldn't eat to begin with.
it was, yeah.
Now,
The lining of my mouth, and throat, I almost swallowed it. Luckily, my sister was in the room. And I beckoned to her that something was going on in my mouth. So I'm kind of like, because I couldn't speak. And she pushed her hand in my mouth and literally twirled her finger. And as she was twirling, the whole lining of my mouth and throat came out in her hand. That was a saving grace. Yes.
Wow. Folks, you're listening to the Praise Life Morning Show. We're broadcasting live on I'm so flummoxed at this point.
Let me help you. Let me help you on YouTube and Facebook, and we're speaking with
Sonia
Croasdaile.
And we're also broadcasting on Front City Radio,
Correct.
and Bay Hill News Network, as well as SPRLiveFM.com. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Sonia, so you just didn't have the Stephen Johnson syndrome. You also had 10.
Yes, I had 10.
And 10 is usually the most severe part of it.
That's right. That's the severe part of it.
What was it like? Let's say, how long were you in hospital for?
I was in hospital for 6 weeks, which felt like an eternity.
I bet.
6 weeks battling for my life. At one point, they thought they had lost me. And the funny thing is, or the blessed thing is, or the good thing is, the doctors who treated me, I was treated at Milton District Hospital. The doctor who treated me, the medical team led by Dr. Wong, they did not know what they were dealing with. And I respect that medical team so much because they were transparent to my family. And as a result, my family was able to go on the internet along with the medical team, and they did a research. And that's when they start Googling my symptoms and they connecting with other medical experts, that's when they realized that this could be Stevens-Johnson syndrome. And they did a biopsy, which was able to get that diagnosis,
Confirm it, yeah.
to confirm the diagnosis.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
treatment start, because up until that time, there was really not much treatment per se. So that's why my body burned so much, because there was no
Right.
treatment that had initiated on the get-go.
So is there some kind of treatment that actually can help or curtail it or save lives or anything like that? Is there something that can be done about that?
Yes, there are different types of treatment out there that is used to stop the burn. And once there is a diagnosis and the treatment starts, it slows the burn and eventually stop the body from burning itself from the inside out. But the key is early diagnosis and early treatment. A young lady in Toronto passed away towards the end of last year. She lay in the hospital and literally burned for a month without the doctors realizing what was happening to her. And it was like just prior to her death that the doctors realized that it actually was Stevens-Johnson syndrome that she was battling. But by then it was too late because everything just got burnt.
So my question is I'm assuming that this is not a disease that is well known, especially in Canada.
No.
It's apparently here in the US to a certain extent, but the like I said, they said 1 to 2 per million. But that's the ones that I'm assuming they figure out what it is.
That's right.
Because when they show what the expiration of the folks that don't make it, it's a little bit higher than that. And America, they have attorneys that can sue pharmaceutical companies if they can prove that whatever drug they gave them is what caused it. So whether they live or die, they have attorneys that are versed in this and can sue people.
My question to you, Sonia, is at this time now that since this is not a well-known disease like liver disease, kidney disease, high hypertension, what is being done, especially in Canada, to bring this to light?
There has been some talk among the medical community. Some are well versed, others aren't. And I have been in communication with a lot of dermatologists, and because it is a dermatological disease. And so they have been having conversations about it. Nevertheless, it still goes undiagnosed. It still goes undetected. Yeah. And that is why we at Stevens-Johnson Syndrome Canada, as an organization, we are working very hard in trying to bring awareness, because medical doctors, even the one who treated me, they were told that this is so rare that you will not see it in your lifetime. Well, it's 1 in a million, and it's more than that, because as Faye mentioned, which is quite rightly so, there are a lot of undiagnosed cases, a lot of death, and it's not until after these deaths occur that they realize that it was Stevens-Johnson syndrome, and sometimes they don't even realize.
Yeah.
What is being done right now? I know you have the organization. Are you guys, in other words, how can we help?
One of the things that we like to say, that I like to say to people, and if you talk to our counterparts in the US, it's educate before you medicate. Because medication is one of the major culprit for triggering this illness. So be educated, know about this syndrome. It starts with flu-like symptoms. And unfortunately, folks, sometimes we need to just refresh the medical professional minds, because sometimes when you present in an emergency or even at your doctor with flu-like symptoms, they're seeing flu-like symptoms. You can have a better sense of what's going on in your body, because I know when I experienced this, I said to my husband, I feel like I'm having the most rarest and most harsh case of the flu. This was like beyond any flu that I have experienced. So for people to educate themselves so that they too can say to their doctors, I feel like this is more than the flu. My body's feeling like it's overheating. And then the pimples may start coming up. And, like by the time the pimples start coming up, these burn like blisters, it means the body's already burning. So
from the inside.
From the inside, yes. And it presents as burn like blisters on the outside. Yeah. So educate yourself.
Do you get like pushback from the medical community in terms of like, okay, we know about this, but because if you look at it, there's approximately 8 billion people in the world. And if they say 1 in every million, that's 1,000 people per million, right? And if you sometimes they may just averages as 1 in a million, but it could be 3,000, 4,000 in a million, just depending on the situation. And especially these days with all these new medications they're bringing out to people, God knows what is actually happening. So do you get a pushback from the medical community, like here in Canada, especially when you're trying to make this bring an awareness to this, and to even like have like they have the kidney foundation month, they have the diabetes month there. Do you have a Stephen Johnson syndrome month?
It's funny that you should ask that. We have been trying to get a Stevens-Johnson syndrome awareness day in Canada. The first year we made the application to Health Canada, we were told that the illness is too rare, they don't know about it. So we're like, hello, that is why we want to bring awareness. So there isn't a day yet in Canada, but as an organization, we are still working. And there were some stuff that we need to get done on our website and stuff like that to bring things up to par. So we are still working in the background, and we are going to be resubmitting that because it is very important. However, in the US and globally, the month of August is been recognized as Stevens-Johnson Syndrome Awareness Month, and August 18th is been recognized as Stevens-Johnson Syndrome Awareness Day. So we have been pushing that here in Canada and on the global front, and just trying to make a whole lot of buzz to get individuals aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I was that's what I was a little bit distracted. That's what I was looking for, and I didn't get as far as that because there's more information regarding than I thought. Because you don't know somebody, you don't know of a diagnosis, and you don't know the follow up, or you don't know somebody that has it. So you tend to not delve into how it come about, what are the symptoms, what are the treatments and things like that until it comes across your sphere, and it's like, okay, never heard about this, so let me go look. So that's kind of like what I was looking at, and then you said it. There's August is the month for that, and I don't think I even realized that because it was not in my,
We normally say, as a culture of people around the world or globally, if it's not in our hemisphere or not in our area, we don't think about it. We kind of dismiss it until it comes into your area. And I talk about organ donation and things like that a lot because of the fact that I'm an organ donor myself. As the station owner, and I know my station manager is also listening right now. I want to know, how effective can we be in helping? What is it that we can do from a station standpoint? How can we help to promote this? To let people become aware of what actually is happening. So just in case someone begin to discover something is going wrong, they can say, I think this is what it is. So can you get the
Right.
information ready?
Right.
How can we be a part of this program and helping?
Well, that's thanks for asking that. We have educational seminars like town halls that we run on Zoom. Every February, we just had one the end of February, and again in August. We do have educational town halls. It's free on Zoom. We also put on fundraising awareness initiatives. We have like a fundraising awareness concert in December, and we provide like monthly support. So there's a lot of things going on within the organization. And what services such as yours can do, Claremont, is to help us promote these things, talk about it, so it becomes a common language on the tongue of individuals, that flu may not just be a flu, it could be worse than that. People need to know to read their medication labels.
Don't get me
Read
started
the
on that now.
warning properly.
Don't get me started on that now.
Please don't open the door. We don't have
Don't
enough
get me
time for
started
your
on that
thoughts on
now,
that.
because you know where I'm going to go with this, but I'm going to leave that for now. We're talking about Stephen
Thank
Johnson
you.
syndrome.
Thank
Let me
you.
stay right
Thank
there.
you. Let's stick with that.
No, okay. Do you guys have like what we call it a drop
That's what I just put a note there,
yeah?
jingle
Do we
or
have a
PSA.
PSA, public service
Yeah.
announcement? Have you guys ever
Yeah.
done anything like that, just to bring an awareness to people that says, like we have the
We have diabetes.
we got diabetes, we got Alzheimer's, we got people, those kind of little drops. They're about 30 seconds to 60 seconds. Do you guys have anything like that at all?
We don't have anything like that yet, but it is worth doing. So that's something that we would consider doing.
Let's talk off the air about this, and I will help you along those lines to get that together.
Yes,
We're gonna help you get that together, so where we can
Yes.
actually make this something that you can actually pass out to other places as well. How old is this organization in this Canadian Stephen Johnson Syndrome Canada? How old is the
It's
organization?
about 11 years since we started the organization. However, we got formalized in 2016. That's when we got registered as a charity. So we are funded through donations and sponsors. We are not government funded, and we are just volunteers that are passionate about bringing awareness. Myself, my husband, my family, and we have a board of director and a bunch of volunteers that are helping us to organize things and get information out there. We do have informational pamphlets and handouts that we circulate to individuals as needed, but it remains challenging. But I am very grateful for opportunities such as this, because every time we get a chance to talk about Stevens-Johnson syndrome, it's worth talking about.
Listen, we appreciate you coming to just chat with us about this Stephen Johnson syndrome.
Diagnosis.
This diagnosis, because it could have been worse. It could have been worse, but thank God you're here. And anything that we can do to help, you have our contacts. Just contact our station manager. As opposed to we want you to stay on air with us after this interview, so I can just run some things by you. But we appreciate you coming. We appreciate you sharing with us. And anytime you feel that you have something new that you think you need to share, just let us know, and we'll bring you in on the radio and say, hey, let's talk about what's actually happening within this community, because it's a very small community because not a lot of people know about it. So people say, "What's that?" and they
Exactly.
lose interest
Yeah,
very
yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So we need to
right.
make sure that this is in the face of people. People understand what it is,
Mhm.
because as the statement goes, today for me, tomorrow for you.
That's
You know
it.
what I'm saying?
That's
And
it.
and I'm not wishing this on anybody,
No,
because I remember you
Right,
telling me you
right.
don't wish this on even your worst enemy because it's so bad,
not at
right?
all. Not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
But we appreciate you sharing today, as I said, and we
Yes,
definitely will
indeed.
have to have you back. And you said you'll be having something in August. We'll talk about that. Whatever you're having in December as well, we'll also talk about that. And as, we want to be a part of it. Let's put it this way: we want to be a part of it. People
Be
feel that
welcome back.
illness don't affect all of us. It does. It does. I
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
mean,
Because
so
you never know. You
whatever
never
we
know.
can do to help, we want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
We want to be a part of that. We just don't want to
Thank
be
you.
another gospel internet radio station just broadcasting anything and not being a part of anything and helping out. And we bring the gospel to
Right.
people, but if
Mhm.
physically we can be of some kind of comfort or help to somebody else, this is what we want to
Right,
do.
right.
So we
That's
thank
Awareness is
you.
so important.
Yeah, we
Awareness is
thank you. We
very
thank you
important.
so
Yeah.
much for being with us today, and look
Yes, we
forward to
do.
chatting with you again.
Thank you so
Yes,
much for
indeed.
having me. And on behalf of the
Absolutely.
Stevens-Johnson Syndrome Association here in Canada and around the world, thank you for taking the time to have us bring awareness about this deadly disease that
Yes.
affects us, change our lives, and just make us
Yeah.
into different individuals than we were. But I am very grateful to be here. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
For the best listening experience, please download our sprlivefm.com app from either the Google Play Store or Apple App Store. You will not only experience our radio, but SPR